Dan's Bar. Today we're actually in Dan's lab because we are going to experiment with making a new cocktail because I'm in the mood for a gin-based cocktail that has some fruity elements to it, and I didn't find a recipe that I thought looked good online, so instead we're going to be making something up on the fly. Now I've gone through and I've smelled all my different gins, and I've decided that I want to do the Cobalt dry gin. It's not as sweet, it's not as floral, it's not as juniper forward. It's more subtle, but it still has a hint of the fruity things, the kind of almost sweetness that I'm really looking for. I've had a lot of dark drinks, a lot of sweet drinks, a lot of bubbly drinks the past week or so. So I'm looking for something a little bit drier that's a little bit lighter and almost more like a sparkling water type thing, but obviously with some more fun flavor profiles to it. So we're going to be using this gin for our base elements, and we're going to be building on that to add the different kind of elements that right now I'm just kind of in the mood for. So to start, we're going to do this with a little bit of Cointreau to add some more orange, fruity aspects to it. It's also going to add a little bit of sweetness. We're also then going to throw in a little bit of Luxardo, which is almost acidic. It's not quite as sweet. It's almost, it's a very different, very specific flavor. And then we're also going to add just a dribble of chartreuse to see if that gives us a little bit more herbal to kind of bring back the sweetness and amp up the different complexities that we have in the drink to give it a nice overall body. That's the theory. We're going to be tasting as we go to figure out what works and figure out what we're going to change to make it even better. So we're going to start off with probably about 3 ounces of our gin, because most of the other things we're adding are going to be flavorings primarily. They're not going to be for a whole lot of content of a body. Or volume rather, that's the word I'm looking for. Words can be hard sometimes. Also, it's been a week, so, you know, we're good. So we've got the main portion of our cocktail as our gin has now been added. I'm gonna go ahead and add, I think about 1 ounce of our Cointreau. I don't want it to be too much to make it too orange forward and too sweet, but I wanna make sure that it's definitely present in the drink. So I'm gonna add 1 ounce of that to go with our 3 ounces of gin. And then I'm probably gonna do about 1/2 ounce of Luxardo. You know, whenever you're going through, always smell and just kind of do what your gut tells you based on what you're smelling. And there's a little bit of bitterness, a little bit of acidity in there that I think is gonna complement the orange really nicely. So I'm gonna do almost 1 whole of Luxardo. So just barely under 1. And if you can look in there, you can definitely see that there is a lot of sugary and sweetness in here as well. So that's also going to kind of counteract some of the dryness of the gin to add our nice flavors in there as well. So that's going to be a good addition. And then the chartreuse, because chartreuse is a really, really potent flavor with a lot of complexity going on, I'm just going to add a dribble to it. As I've said before, I'm a big fan of chartreuse as a sipper, but in a cocktail, it's really easy to add just too much and it completely overpowers everything else in the drink. So I'm just going to put in a little bit here, just like that. And that's, I think, all we're going to need in this. Just enough, almost to act as a bitter. Add some more botanical components to it and give us more complexity with the overall drink. So I'm just going to give this a stir before we do our full shake to see where we're at from a flavor perspective and see what we should add more of to kind of balance out the flavor based on what we've got. So let's give it a test. What does that need? So right now there's a lot of sweetness going on and it needs a little bit of something to bring back the dryness factor. Alright y'all, we're calling an audible here. It's quite tasty, it's got great flavors going on, but it's a little bit too sweet and I want to bring that back a little bit. Kind of tone that down, give it some more, I want to thin it out a little bit. And what I'm going to do is add just a little bit of grappa. Now this happens to be a very, very good grappa from Italy. Italy? No. Yeah, Italy. It's from Verona. Yeah. So it's a good grappa from Italy that it's got a lot of pear, a lot of kind of dried fruit in it, but it also does not have any sweetness and it has a pretty high alcohol content. So I think that's going to give us the last little bit that we need to round out the cocktail. And I'm not going to put in much, about the same amount as I put in chartreuse, but just to thin it out a little bit, give a little more flavor on the fruit side of it and drown out a little bit of the sweetness. And I think that's going to do it. I think the other thing that it needed was to get really nice and chilled down, because that cold factor is also going to tone down the sweetness, and as it dilutes and the ice melts in the glass, that's also going to kind of round out the flavors that we're looking for. So let's give it a shake and see what we get. All right, I'm gonna call that good. It's not quite as frosty on the outside that I like, but I think I've got more volume in there than I usually do, and I only put in 2 ice cubes instead of my usual 3, so it's not cooling down quite as quickly as it usually does. But because we got a nice big ice cube in our glass, I think it's gonna work just fine, and we already do have it nicely chilled down already. So we'll go ahead and pour that out. And because we've got almost all clear spirits here, the drink is gonna be very, very clear. So I think that is gonna add to the sense of it being kind of a light cocktail that's really just a light, refreshing thing. So, final test. Oh, there's so much going on in there, and I love it. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. I might take down the Luxardo a little bit. There's a little bit of it's a little bit too much of that. That kind of comes forward too much in the mix. But you got the Cointreau and the Chartreuse that work really nice together with the gin. The gin is definitely forward enough. Yeah. This is the lab. These are not formal cocktail recipes. These are just things that I happen to throw together. Look around your house, see what you have that you think would work well together, throw it together, and let me know how it works out. Until we meet again, I hope you have wonderful experiments in your cocktails. Happy practicing those consumptions and creations. Until we see you again, cheers.